Welcome to Beyond the Code, the podcast where industry experts and brilliant legal minds discuss the impact of new emerging technologies. I'm your host, Yitzi Hammer, a lawyer and tech enthusiast. Join us as we explore the legal, regulatory, and ethical issues surrounding AI, blockchain, and more. Get ready to go beyond the code and stay ahead of the game. Freeman, welcome to the podcast again.
Thank you for having me again.
We did this little shindig a few months ago, and then war broke out, and I never got a chance to edit or broadcast. And then you pivoted from your RShook app to the Emet platform that you're working on now. And so we have lots of new things to talk about. Before we jump into Emet, which I want to hear all about, I'd love you just to walk us back to, who you are, your journey into crypto, your journey out of crypto and into being an entrepreneur, and what you're doing now and where you're going in the future, and how you literally merged everything that we propose to cover in this podcast, AI, crypto, all into one awesome product. So
Absolutely.
I'll pass the mic over to you.
Thank you, and thank you so much for having me again. I know that when October 7th happened, you went offline and resurfaced, 3 months later? So it's good to see you, and I know that the legal community appreciates your efforts and appreciates what you're doing. To recap, I got into blockchain when I was working in private equity. I was running e-commerce companies, and a lot of my clients in the e-commerce world were building their entire businesses on platforms like Amazon or Overstock or Walmart. And while they thought they might be liquid, centralized platforms have their risks. And so I started thinking about decentralized platforms, and that's how I came across Bitcoin and later Ethereum. And so in 2016, I decided to go to law school specifically for blockchain. I was lucky enough to go to Cardozo Law, which is under Yeshiva University's graduate school program, and learn under Aaron Wright, who had done some work for the Ethereum Foundation and the Ethereum Enterprise Ethereum project. So while I was in law school, I wrote a pretty significant paper on the enforceability of smart contracts.
Excellent paper.
Yeah, thank you.
I really recommend to anybody who's listening to this, I'm going to share it in the show notes. It is a phenomenal paper. It was one of the first academic pieces that I read coming into blockchain, and I highly recommend, even today, still as relevant as it was.
Yeah, shockingly enough, with wallet abstraction, the question of the enforceability of smart contracts has come up again. And I've had a few reach outs in the last few months related to it. So it was a quiet period, and now it's back up again. Once I graduated law school, basically all I knew was blockchain, but I went in-house to a real estate development firm because
as
one does in New York, and as one has to do in the crypto winter. But I got lucky enough to be a little bit of a go-getter, and I started working with a lawyer named Lewis Cohen on a paper that ended up being what I think is, the magnum opus of crypto assets and securities law, and that is called the Ineluctable Modalities of Securities Law, which I'm sure you'll put in the show notes.
Ineluctable modality of securities law. You can't say it fast. It's a bit of a tongue twister. But once you learn it, you can't unlearn it. The ineluctable modality of securities law.
Yes, and we discussed the applicability of securities law related to secondary transactions in crypto assets. So for those listening and haven't read the paper, the basic gist of it is that, in our opinion, based on our reading, 3 times reading every single appellate case in the federal district courts, there's no basis to call a crypto asset itself a security when traded on the secondary market. Now, there is one judge that thinks otherwise. Recently, in the Coinbase case, she may have made an error in her analysis. So don't take our word for it, but the paper has been featured in almost every single crypto asset analytic case since 2022, I guess. So super proud of that. And then after I published the paper in November, I spent 6 months, and I was sort of floundering in the sense that I really like solving problems, but in the US crypto space, a lot of problems we solve is just guiding people outside of the United States. And I like to say yes rather than no. So I decided that it was time to start building. And I left the law firm DLX Law, and I started building what gets referred to as RShook, which was a decentralized content and publishing marketplace. So our thought was that just like the Shook in Jerusalem that's owned by the merchants, we could make a content and publishing platform that would be owned by the YouTubers. That's where my current project comes into play. I spent about $15,000 on market research, and that meant spending 6 to 8 weeks talking to customers and surveying thousands of customers, which were YouTubers. And I quickly realized that YouTubers don't really care about ownership or collective ownership. What they really cared about was views. And really, to make RShook scale, we needed hundreds of millions of dollars to bring YouTubers over to RShook. And it really is not, creating a content marketplace like that is not a first-time founder's cup of tea. So as I was wrapping that up, I took the lessons I learned there, and it was around the Jewish holidays, and so I took some time off and was wrapping things up, and I started talking to founders, and I realized that the market research aspect that I had gone through, they had either wished they had gone through earlier, had gone through, and really experienced some tough experiences. So for me, and the average market research survey takes about $15,000 to $50,000 in 6 to 8 weeks, depending on how you're doing it. And that's just for high level, surveying your target market. So around October 7th, I think basically October 7th, I decided that I needed to get off my ass and start being productive. I saw the world was changing and quickly passing me by, and I also saw that the Jewish world wasn't really, the Jewish tech world wasn't really supporting Israel, and our forefathers, the Sheldon Adelsons of the world, are no longer as active. And I thought, okay, it's really time to put the pedal to the metal. So I started this market research company that I called Emmet, which for those Hebrew speakers means truth. And I started helping some of my founder friends do market research. But then I was looking into the economics of it, and I realized that for qualitative market research, the most expensive component is users. And what happens is that users get surveyed. Every time they get surveyed, that data becomes the client's data, and that data isn't reused. And for most of the clients, especially my friends and my clients, these startups or product teams or brands that are not the Pepsis or not the Cokes, they don't need that as proprietary data. So what you can do, and this is where the blockchain piece comes along, is what you can do is you can license that data straight from the respondent or the survey participant. You can pay them over time. And so you pay them every single time the data is used, whether it's in a market research survey. So every time somebody comes to us and says, I want to start a YouTube platform, we go back to the same person. We use their data, we use their answers, they passively earn. And not only that, once we have enough data, we can create inferential models around them, around these people, and we can sell that or license that to AI companies. And that's really where we're going with this is we're creating this on-chain licensing model that allows people to transfer to really value, we're in this world of read, write, own, to really value what does ownership mean. It means you can monetize your ownership. And so we think of our product in the future as being, very akin to DoorDash or something like that, where you can earn just from your phone just by adding data. We'll refine it, we'll mine it, refine it, and distribute it to AI models or distribute it to our internal market research. But market research is really just the starting point for us.
So I'm just trying to understand. So I go in, I answer a survey, and then rather than getting like paid or not paid for my answers and then never confronting them again, you take that data, you mine it, and you redistribute it to other surveys where my answers may be relevant.
Sort of. So um, if you answer a selection of surveys about, say,
Let's say you
um,
ask what my favorite color is, and
yeah.
then you could
Okay, so
use
your
that to
favorite colors is blue, you're married, you live in Israel, you're XYZ age. And then a client comes in and says, I want to make a design that's targeting your age, married people. Instead of going back to you every time and saying, well, what's your age? Are you married? What's your income? Where do you live? And then asking what's your favorite color, we're already going to know that your favorite color is blue. We're going to pay you for your time. And not only that, every time you get paid, you're going to be incentivized to add more data. So someday you're going to say, I want another coffee. So you're going to add, you're going to make your car. You're going to add what dress you love to wear. You're going to add
yeah.
your favorite guitar. And then we're going to be able to make a model around you and sell that insight into an AI platform, or sell that insight into whatever you give us a permission to license it to, and then you get paid.
Very cool. Two questions. Number one, from a privacy perspective, is it pseudonymized or is it
Yeah,
my data in every sense of the word?
it's your data in every sense of the word. It's anonymized.
Okay.
You as a person are just a number.
Okay.
So it's
And
pseudo
you can trace
anonymous,
it back to
but
me.
we can trace it back to you by the name because that's your profile.
Yeah,
But
because
the
the
difference
intention
is
is to be able to
you
monetize it.
have licensed it to us. It's not like in other applications where you are just giving it to us and you never have the right to say how your data is used. You have given us the responsibility to license it to other
Okay, and how am
applications.
I incentivized?
In terms of
I'm saying like,
compensation,
yeah, how am I compensated?
so you're compensated. We have a flywheel model that's micropayments. So you're compensated in points that are transferable to USDC or some other type of token.
Sounds like a token to me. I'm saying
Yeah,
points are ultimately a token, no?
yeah. So it's a non-transferable token that we hold, and then we can transfer it to whatever token you would like.
Okay, so it's like gamified in a sense.
Yeah, yeah, totally. So if you don't fill out the first survey, so the first survey is where we really figure out how to segment you. But if you don't fill out the entirety of the first survey, we can still sell you, and we can still push surveys to you in other areas. So if you say you're a male, and that's the first question, then we can still push surveys to you that you're a male. But we'll also give pop-ups. So if we get a market research client that we think is relevant to you, then we'll push a survey to you.
And so I would earn more based on how many answers I contribute or how unique or important my
How
data is.
valuable your data how valuable your data is. So the more data you give, the more we can make that valuable. That's the
Okay.
refining
And
piece.
assuming that I'm like a very forthcoming user, like
Yeah.
what can I stand to make as an end
So
user?
our goal is to get around
What,
$30.
30, what, a month?
$30 a month. Yeah, that's
Wow.
our goal for now. But we have this intention with the licensing model. We have this intention to be able to feed into your Reddit profile and grab data from your Reddit profile or your Facebook profile or something like that. So the more fulsome your data you've given us, the more
Mhm.
we can license that.
And how would that, like if you're scraping or pulling data from third-party sources with my consent, of course,
Yeah.
how does that match up with their internal privacy practices?
Right. So Reddit, for example, will give us the ability to reward you through their Reddit platform. It's all through them. we're just licensing that data, and we have a link to the data that we have. We're licensing that data through them, and then it goes to, and then they
And
pay you in
so
Reddit
if
points.
you wanted to remove the data or delete the data, you would ask me and I would ask Reddit, or they would ask Reddit.
You would ask Reddit first if we had done that link. You would ask Reddit, and you would also ask us if we had to. Yeah.
Very cool. It sounds really cool. Is there like an expiry date to the relevance of certain data?
Yeah, so in different use cases, there certainly is an expiry date. So, for example, gaming platforms, they have a 3-month expiry date. But the core information that you give us will allow
I'm
us to
saying
push you more data.
the relevance of the
Right,
data. Does it have an
right,
expiry
right. So the relevance of the data for a gaming platform when they want to develop a new game, they're not going to want to know that you answered a question on your favorite color
date?
is
6 months
blue
ago. Right.
6 months ago.
Okay. Um, I imagine that there is some data that's timeless, but like you would
Yeah,
want to update it over time so that you know that like I'm now 37 and not 35 or whatever.
Yeah, and then the models, have a choice of they're going to have parameters of what they want to buy. So if they want to buy something that's 6 months, expired at a lower price because that's great for their training model, and that's their prerogative, and we'll organize it.
And then once you have so much data, like assuming that everybody
Yeah,
assigns their data to you, you could create like your own new data models within those pools
we
or
can
whatever
create it.
license you
Yeah,
have that you
there's a
refer to
very
unique.
there's a very fine line between creating synthetic data, which is not real data, and creating inferences. So yes, we certainly, once we have enough data, we can create inferential models of what we think you'll like, or create a whole profile around you. But we're not going to make up data because we know that in this race we think that data is the oil of AI, and more than microchips and more than anything else, they
Absolutely.
are just eating data. And there are plenty of companies that are coming up with ways to create synthetic data. What we're really pushing on is the ability to create real insights, feedback, and data. And for some of our other customers, a third party data licensors like New York Times or something like that, it's also offers an opportunity for them to sell and get rewards for their data also.
Hmm.
I just touched on something that's a little bit farther in afield though.
I like it. I like the forward thinking. So who is it? Like who's on the team?
So it's me. I run. I am the founder and CEO, and what I bring to the table, in addition to being the founder and head honcho, is I've got a pretty big, deep data licensing background. It is Fabian Schonholtz, who has a PhD in cognitive neuroscience from UC Santa Barbara. He worked with NASA and NBC, and most recently he was the advisor to Protege, which is one of the leading market research data miners in the country. And then we have Eugene Fine, who is our CTO, and Eugene and I have worked together for many years on blockchain projects through clients of ours.
It sounds like you guys have a winning team. And how
Yeah.
much did you raise?
So we're looking to raise right now. We're doing a very small pre-seed of about 500,000,
Okay.
and that will get us to a full MVP. And one of the hardest parts of this is, despite reusing data, the cost of acquisition for users is still pretty high. So it'll get us to a full MVP, and then we're hoping to get around 100,000 users on the survey application, and then we're going to go out for another raise, pretty quickly thereafter.
Right. I guess the way it works is like you'd evolve from like an MVP to like a full blown product pretty quickly. Like as soon as the
Yeah,
data's there, it will start like to
yeah.
regenerate itself.
As soon as we get data in, then we can take on paying clients on the other side, and yeah, then people get rewarded, and it goes from there.
And the sky's the limit. So
Yeah,
if you're listening to this and you're an investor looking to invest in a very promising AI crypto startup, so reach out to me or to Freeman, and we'd be happy to send you the deck. This is an excellent opportunity. Obviously, not financial advice or anything.
appreciate that.
but it definitely sounds like a very promising platform idea, and I'm looking forward to contributing my data.
I appreciate it. Yeah, and one of the things that we're building on is there is a human element to creating these reports, and we'd love to, eventually train MBA type people or people that you know you know want to work, whether it's Kuwaitim or Arabs working together in Israel, and put them. This would be a great opportunity to have cross-cultural, or at least some touch to Israel. The entire founding team is Jewish, and that has made things quite easy.
Keep it in the family.
Yeah,
In the
exactly.
shuk, as you say.
Exactly.
Very, very cool. What else is going on, Freeman?
Not much. Not much. I'm heading to Japan tomorrow.
Really?
Yeah, heading to Japan.
What are you doing in Japan?
Just gonna,
Oh, I
while we
forget that
can.
you guys are like people of the
Yeah,
world. I love
yeah.
that.
So we're
Japan
heading
is
to
like
Japan
way up
tomorrow.
there on my list. I think it's like a
Yeah,
list.
yeah, yeah.
Did you read Shoe Dog?
I didn't read Shoe Dog. I've been reading like one book a week, but I haven't read Shoe Dog.
Put that on your list
Right.
for next week.
He
It's
went
one of
to
my
he went
absolute
to.
favorite books, and he's what turned me on to Japan. Like he
Mm,
was inspired. His whole book starts with a trip to Japan, and
interesting. Yeah, because he went
definitely
and
give
was
it.
like the licenser for the exclusive
Yeah,
Hearsay. Yeah,
so
yeah,
definitely give it a read or a listen. I listened to it on
yeah.
Audible, but I have to
Okay,
finish
yeah,
this
yeah.
book.
I'm a big Shabbos reader. I get through like a book every Shabbos, and we're doing Pesach in Paris. So,
Oh
and we're
wow! Okay,
then
so
we're
you
gonna
just
do the
jumped
yeah,
on.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. We'll be in
all right,
Europe all
you
summer
won't
if you want.
you won't make it to Token 2049 in Dubai in a couple weeks.
No, 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 I'm good.
All right, where are you gonna be in the summer? You said you're gonna be here
I'll be in Europe all summer. I don't
in
know.
Europe.
We'll try to make it in Israel, but we're doing the Olympics in Paris and then like Norway and all those
That's
places.
awesome. That's really
Yes, yeah, it should be good.
okay. Another question for you, and
Yeah,
please excuse me if
yeah.
I'm rude, but I'm Israeli.
No,
Freeman, not a very common name, at least like not in the last
my
few
parents are
centuries.
hippies.
Your parents are hippies. Okay.
Yeah.
Like where did that come from?
My mother followed like a guru, Freeman Nathan, who was like a guru. Yeah.
Awesome.
My
So she was
sister's name is
inspired. Golda.
Golda, which is a little bit easier.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you like you like Freeman? Like have was it like a
It's memorable. I'm not very good with names, so everybody remembers me. I don't remember them.
right?
It's fine.
I get that with
Yeah.
Yitzi. Like at least outside of the United States,
Mm,
like Jewish tight knit communities, like nobody knows a Yitzi. And in
right.
Israel, like Yitzi, Yitzi, it's very hard for people to
Right.
get it. Once they do,
Right. You have
nobody
a shorten? Shorten? Is Yitzi the shortest you
doesn't
got?
get shorter than Yitzi. I mean,
Yes.
my wife calls me Yitz, yeah, but
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
kind of stops there. Thank you
Okay.
so much for doing this, and I'm sorry to do it twice. Thank you for listening to Beyond the Code. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe, share with your friends, and to tune in again next week for more fun and insightful conversation.